Hello, everybody. Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching here, and I wish you a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are when you're hearing this. You know, it's interesting. We can't get away from the global epidemic that is the coronavirus. Everywhere we turn, we talk about it with our friends, we talk about it with our family, and heavens knows, we can't get away from it on the news and in our daily lives through the media. And it's disconcerting and it's uncomfortable because no matter where we turn, we're either looking for an escape from it or we're looking for solutions if our families or friends, loved ones are affected by it, or we're looking for a relief from it. Some of us are looking for distractions. Others of us are looking for anything else to do, anything else to be dealing with, anything else to be looking at or thinking about or talking about. And yet, what's interesting is the pandemic has caused panic, and the panic has been caused by the fact that the majority of the story is only being told through a negative lens. Now, I know what I'm about to say is controversial, so I ask you to hang with me before passing judgment. Yes, thousands of people, nearly 1 million people, as of recording this, 960,000 cases have been reported, and 48,000 people have passed away worldwide. I'm sure that number is rising even as we speak. And to lose 48,000 people, to put that in perspective, that is a mid to above mid-sized football stadium worth of people in our world that are no longer in physical bodies. They're no longer here. That's 48,000 families that have to plan final arrangement. That's potentially 48,000 parents who are without their children, 48,000 spouses or loved ones who are without their partner, and it's a horrible, horrible thing. And yet, how do we reconcile moving forward with that? You know, another thing for those of us in the United States, of which I am one, the reports say that there are 6.6 million cases of unemployment right now. And yet you look at that and you go, wait, we live in a nation full of, 325 million people? So 6 million of them, almost 7, are out of work. What if it was 60 million? What if it were 100 million? Here's my point. Things can always be worse. And unfortunately, the mainstream media, with an agenda that says we've got to report the news, but the news always has a negative bias because from the dawn of time, humanity and mankind has sought to protect itself from danger, sought to protect itself from dangerous situations, sought to protect itself from death, from pain, from torment, from discomfort. It's part of the mental bias, the cognitive bias that says we focus on the bad instead of the good. Here's a statistic that I think is understated. 200,000 people have been reported to have recovered from the coronavirus. So let's look at the numbers here. 200,000. So we're nearing 250,000 people worldwide. We'll probably get to that 250,000 within the next week, certainly, maybe within the next couple of days even. We don't know. So that's what? That is nearly 4 times the number of deaths. So it is 4 times more likely that someone with this affliction will recover than it is that they will die. Yet everyone is in mainstream media is sitting there focusing on the death, focusing on the loss, focusing on the horror. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have compassion and empathy for those who are going through the hardship, who are in hospitals because they are so sick they can barely survive. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be reaching out to those families and ministering to them and loving them and caring about them and being there for them and doing everything we possibly can to lift them up during this trying time. But where's the other side of the story? Where's the story that says there are people who are recovering? Where's the story that says we as a human race, we as a society, we as a global community will recover and come back stronger from this than ever before? Where's the individual responsibility that says, okay, you're alive right now today. What are you doing to make tomorrow better for yourself, for your family, for your local, state, and country communities? Where's the story that's asking the question of what we're learning from this pandemic? Are you learning that you're taking your family for granted too much? Are you learning that your marriage is falling apart because you didn't communicate before and now forced to communicate, you realize you love your partner after all? Are you learning that being a workaholic wasn't paying off for you and when things are better, maybe, just maybe, you will spend less time at work and more time in balance? Are you learning that there's something outside of yourself that's calling you to do something in this time, much like happened at during 9/11, much like happened during when Kennedy was assassinated, much like happened when the Challenger exploded and erupted and there were deaths? Here's what I'm saying, folks. Throughout history and from the dawn of time, tragedy has happened. But it's not what happens that matters as big as what we do with it. This is a time in our history, in human history, when we can reset the energy and the focus of our planet if we choose to. If we choose to, we can be better to each other when we walk away from this. If we choose to, we can love each other. If we choose to, we can get serious about getting conscious jobs. If we choose to, we can put aside the politics and start caring about human life a little bit more. If we choose to, we can make the world a better place on the other side of this all. And wouldn't that be the proper way to honor the souls that have been lost through this process? Wouldn't that be the correct way to remarkably honor the sacrifice and suffrage of those that we love that have passed away needlessly due to this horrible illness? Wouldn't the legacy of those that have suffered be honored to us living better lives as a result of the suffrage? I don't know. But when I read things like there's 10,000 deaths in Spain, I go, it's horrible for those 10,000 families, but at least it's not 100,000 yet. When I read 500 deaths in a day for the second day in a row in the UK, I go, at least it's not 5,000. When I read that consumption of meat in China of dogs and cats, which we can't conceptualize here in the U.S., obviously, we don't know fully things, but different cultures have different standards, and that's part of it too. If the universal standards were employed here, and when I mean universal standards, things we can all agree on, taking better care of ourselves as individuals, no matter where we are in the 196 countries on this planet, should be a priority, no, a must coming out of this pandemic. Because here's the reality. It can and most likely will happen again, if not in our generation, in future generations, that a pandemic and an illness will happen again, probably at this level or worse, because that's just part of nature. It's part of evolution of the way things are. But what's also true is, much like this pandemic could have been prevented, so too can future pandemics. You see, doctors and journalists and people of note, celebrities, and people who are portraying things a certain way, they all have an agenda. And we have an agenda too, don't we? Really, if we think about it. What's your agenda in this situation? It comes down to something really, really simple. Survival. None of us wakes up today and says, gee, I hope I pass away today. Gee, I hope that I get sick. Gee, I hope that something bad happens to me. At the core, we all are trying to survive. We're all efforting towards continuing to breathe another day on the planet. But why not make it the best it can possibly be? Yes, it's horrible that millions of people are unemployed. And yes, it's horrible that we've lost these lives. But to the unemployed people, maybe it's a gift. What if you looked at it and you said, you know what? Maybe I wasn't living my full potential in that job I had, and now I can get back to using my real skill. For the people that have been sick and they come through it, maybe it's an invitation to take a better look, a deeper look, a more meaningful look at your entire health and wellness, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and start living life in alignment with progress and start living a life that you can be proud of rather than one that's wearing you down. 1 million families will receive free childcare in Australia. Now think about the sacrifice of those 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, million workers who are giving to take care of the children in Australia. My question is, why isn't that a global initiative? And can we make it one? Can you and I, and your friends and your family and your loved ones and the guy down the street and the guy eating Cheetos on the couch and the lady who doesn't want to get out of bed because she's overwhelmed and she doesn't want to hear any more news, can any of us make a difference so that those who are less fortunate, the elderly, the disabled, the children, the sick, the already sick, the chronically ill, the people who have emotional and mental illnesses, the people who are affected by this and go through it silently, because we're also focused on this, the zero in of its spreading, that we're forgetting the humanity that's being affected through the pandemic itself. Here's what I mean. Right now, your neighbor is scared and could use a text from you that says, hey, I'm thinking of you. Right now, your partner is just wishing they could go back to that moment where, you guys were laying in bed and watching Netflix or planning your next vacation, or that time when you said I love you and it really mattered because every toe on your body curled. Right now, your best friend is wishing you could go back to being kids and running the roads and having a good time rather than worrying about, is my family going to be affected by this disease that's out of control? Right now, all of us have a unity, and the unity is we wish we were living in a different world and a different reality. Now, every action we take may not change the course of those who are going to pass. If you believe in destiny, some would say destined to pass. If you believe in random chance, you'd say roulette wheel. Whatever you believe, there's a place for you too. Whatever you believe, there's a reason for you too. But what is this pandemic going to mean for our future? The president of the Philippines, as I'm reading here, says that violators of the lockdown could be shot on sight. So if we come to a place in our society where common sense and caring about fellow human beings has to be taken into control by leadership and said, okay, we'll shoot you if you don't make the right decision, or we'll shoot you if you take your needs and put them ahead of our global citizenship. It's interesting because we all have a responsibility here, and it is to do what we can with what we have. Yes, stay in your homes. Yes, focus on cleaning your house, but I mean that metaphorically and spiritually as well as I do physically. As I look around where I'm located, I realize I've got to do some cleaning. But so do you. So do all of us. Maybe it's clean up our emotions. Maybe it's clean up our thought patterns. Maybe it's clean up our negativity or our pain from the past or the trauma we've already suffered or our fear of the future. But we've all got some cleaning to do. And some would say God, and some would say goddess, and some would say the universe, and some would say fate, and some would say chance. But whatever it is that you believe in today, that thing, that energy, that power of creation is giving you the chance to reset your life, unfortunately triggered by this tragedy. What will you do with it? What will you encourage your family to do with it? What will you encourage your friends to do? What will you say to your children about this time 10 years from today? Will you say, I lived in fear? Or will you say, I lived in faith that better was coming, I believed in the good things that were coming, and I pushed through knowing that on the other side I was going to make a difference in our world? You know, there's a Martina McBride song that says, love's the only house. If we build the foundation of our future after this pandemic on the back of loving each other, and we can love each other through staying quarantined, and that's something I don't think's been talked a lot about in the media either. You running around and going to the beach because it's spring break, you going and seeing your lover because you haven't been laid in a while, you going to you going just down the street just because you're afraid to be in your house, that's not love. Because there's a potential you're a carrier and you could affect another person. But similarly, staying in your house just because somebody in the media tells you to also isn't fully love if you know there's someone down the street who's in need. If you know there's an elderly person who nobody's checked on in a while. If you know there's a child that needs child care. There are ways that we can make the world a better place. Now, I'm not saying break the law. In no way am I advocating breaking the law. But at some level, we have to use human discernment and decency to determine how to conduct ourselves in uncharted territory. And I'm here to tell you two things. One, you're smart enough to do it. Two, you're capable of doing it. So to steal a line from Larry the Cable Guy, go get her done. Because the world needs you to be active. The world needs you to be present today. And presence is going to mean something different for each and every one of us. For some of us, it's going to mean self-reflection. For some of us, like those who are first responders, medics, and police officers, and nurses and doctors and healthcare workers and orderlies, it's going to mean being on the front line, and 86,400 times every day, number of seconds in a day, they're risking their lives for you and me. So maybe if you have someone who's in one of those high-risk fields, you send them a text message today. You give them a call tonight, and you say thank you for what you're doing for our community, for our planet, and for our world. Because just because they're out there helping and serving doesn't mean they're any less scared than you and me. Matter of fact, they're more scared. But they're pushing through. We can learn a lot from their courage. What if everyone in the healthcare industry right now said, I'm too scared, I'm not getting out of bed today? How many more deaths would there be if that's what happened? Embrace their courage, model their courage, learn from their tenacity, and go and be tenacious yourself in this moment. You can do it. You will do it. You are worthy. We are healing. Come together and make that truth into a reality that everyone can see in your community, in your neighborhood, in your home, today, tomorrow, forever. This has been Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching. If you'd like to get in contact, if you'd like to talk with me further about this, please do a couple of things. Subscribe to this channel, one. Follow on Twitter at PO Perception, P as in Paul, O as in Oreo, Perception. And we do daily audios here. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.